Did you hear that 91% of guys that use Dove Men Plus Care antiperspirant recommend it? Dove Men Plus Care user Bobby said he doesn't know how it works, but it gets the job done. That's good enough for me, Bobby. Pick up some new Dove Men Plus Care antiperspirant for yourself at your local retailer.
Here we are, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, they'll include our buddy Bomani. He'll be live this hour. We got Bruce Bowen, we got PJ Carlesimo, we got Mark Spears, and a whole lot more today. Pens win the Cup. Congratulations. Warriors will try and do the same tonight. We'll see how all of that goes. Clean up a couple of things from the first hour. We mentioned Rafa Nadal Golic. He has won 10 of the 13 French Opens.
Right, lost 3 times.
He's played. You asked about how many times he's lost. He lost in 16, he lost in 15 to Djokovic, and he lost in 2009.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good, you know.
Overall domination in certain places. He got hurt one year. There was one year he didn't play.
Right.
He withdrew in 16. Okay, thank you. Yes, that was just last year. And listen, there was a narrative amongst people in the tennis world, of which I am not. I just follow it a little more closely than most others, but certainly not as closely as the people who really are in it do. But I think there was a belief that Nadal was done. I think so long ago there was a belief Nadal's time as a truly top player in the world was done.
I would like to see if other aging players are going to go the Federer route. Didn't Djokovic said he was thinking about taking some time off. He was thinking about resting, and you wonder. I mean, remember, Federer skipped the French. I mean, he's healthy.
Correct.
Just he
skipped the whole clay court season.
He has a plan. He has a resting and playing plan in place, and it's keeping him out there. Would we have loved to seen him at the French competing in there? Absolutely. But he's got a plan, and you wonder if others that are going to, as they age, are going to start adopting a plan like that as well.
Here's who that will kill, and we're going to get into a place right now that probably most of our audience couldn't care less about. But tennis still, unlike a lot of the other sports, depends enormously on people showing up at all their venues, right? They don't have these huge television contracts and all that kind of stuff. They've got their 4 Grand Slams and everything, but they're not like pro football. They're not getting billions of dollars a year in television. So they sell a lot of tickets at all these events. And unlike even golf, these guys show up everywhere. I mean, traditionally, they show up everywhere. So it's not that you and I wanted to see Roger play in Paris. The people in Paris wanted to see Roger play in Paris. And so if that starts happening, that will be a terrible thing for the tour. Now, the players themselves will look at it and say, I want to extend my career. I want to play into my mid-30s. So if I'm Roger Federer and I know that clay is not my specialty, my chances of winning there are minuscule even if I go and play my best. I'm going to take that whole season off, rest myself up, and take my shot at Wimbledon, which is my best chance. So that's the right thing for him to do.
It's the right thing for him to do.
It's terrible for the sport.
But I think a lot of people have a tougher time, computing with it. That's why I wondered why in the French Open they didn't give a wild card to Maria Sharapova just for getting her back in it. I get why the players were happy that they didn't do it, and now it doesn't look like she's going to try and get an invite to Wimbledon because she's dealing with an injury.
Right.
But
she would have to play her way in.
She'd have to play her, yes. So, as I said, again, I understand why the players liked the decision for the French Open, but I thought for the French Open itself, it certainly would have been a nice name value there.
Let me also, in cleaning up some things from our first hour today, the Twitter reaction comes through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a spring birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com, and right now, 1-800-Flowers is offering an exclusive 24 for 24 offer, 24 multicolored roses for $24. That's only $1 per rose. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Julian has tweeted back, Mike. We are following this dream that he had, so go ahead and keep us posted.
Julian started the tweet by saying that he dreamt he worked for Mike and Mike, and I fired him in a food court at a mall. And I said it was Greeny's fault, but I fired him anyway. We were trying to get more information out of Julian and what may be going on in his life that would have made him think that. He tweeted again. He said, I did work for the show. The 3 of us were there buying softball gear for a game later that day. Needless to say, I didn't play in the game.
So he had a dream that the 3 of us, meaning you, me, and Julian, were at a mall buying softball gear for a game we were playing in later that day. You went to the food court and you fired him.
I fired him before the game, so he didn't play the game, but Julian was also working on our show. That's his dream.
We need more. The only person this could actually have been is Hembo. The only person who actually could have been going to a softball game, I would think, is Hembo. I think the question is, We need more. I need more information on Julian in order to truly analyze
what
this
has
dream.
gone on in your life, Julian. That's what we're looking for to make you even have the dream in the first place that you work for us and that I would fire you. Fire you in a food court, I get it, because I talk about food all the time, so I could see the correlation there.
Do you play softball, Julian? Did you play softball as a child? Did something traumatic happen to you during a softball game? These are the things that we need to know. Keep tweeting us. Again, just go back to when you were about 3 and work your way up from there.
Dive into this, Julian. This would be good for everybody.
And by the way, Senor Suerte tweets at us, as a kid, I had a recurring dream that I was on Mars being hunted by an army of Dr. Dre clones. That's very unusual.
Dre clones.
So people who were like clones of Dr. Dre were hunting this guy on Mars.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, who hasn't had that dream?
Here's a realistic one. Bartender, whatever, says, I dreamt a snake wrapped itself around my neck. I immediately woke up to a tangled headphones I fell asleep with around my neck. Okay. Very easily fixable.
Well, at least that one sort of makes some semblance of sense.
It does.
I remember one time I fell asleep I was outside, and it was very sunny. And I had a dream that that something had caught fire, and then I woke up and I realized I was right in the sun and it was very hot.
Right.
Those things make physical sensation.
This makes sense. Something wrapped around your neck and you dream it's a snake.
But a recurring dream that you're on Mars being hunted by an army of Dr. Dre clones, that strikes me as a tad more unusual.
Again, what goes on for that to happen?
So we're going to have to ask the same thing of Senor Suerte. I need you to go back to your childhood and just tweet at us literally everything that's ever happened. We'll see if we can't figure it out. Getting back to business, Adam Kessler tweets, Cavs don't need to reload. They have plenty of firepower. They need a new offense. Too much ISO, play like the Warriors. Adam, they don't need a new offense. They need an offense. They don't play an offense.
They don't play an offense. They ISO.
But that's what half the teams in the NBA don't play an offense.
And unfortunately for them, they don't play a whole lot of great defense. They have defensive players that don't play offense, and they have offensive players that don't play defense.
You know, and I know
have LeBron.
Every time I do this, I hear my own father's voice in my head. But the way the Warriors play is actually the way basketball used to be played.
And we used to say that about San Antonio all the time, and San Antonio always moved the ball, but Golden State does it.
Right. San Antonio plays at night. I mean, they're not the only team that does it. No. Golden State just does it to a ridiculous level because they have almost always have 5 guys on the floor who can make a three. And of course, for the overwhelming majority still of the history of the game, there were no threes. But the idea of the ball moving and creating mismatches and in the old days, throwing the ball down low where you might create a double team and then moving the ball quickly to the open man before the defense could rotate to get there. It's a novel concept. It's called basketball. It's what the game was actually intended to be. It was not intended to be throw the ball to one guy, get everyone else out of the way, and have him beat everyone because he can. But that's what it has evolved into, and both LeBron James and even more so Kyrie Irving do it as well as anyone you've ever seen. Kyrie Irving takes the ball to the basket better than any player his size in the history of the game. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Have you ever seen a guy take the ball to the basket better than he does at his size? It's one thing to take the ball strong if you're Michael Jordan and you're 6'6". What is Kyrie Irving, 6'1"?
There's a guy I'm putting there is Iverson. Iverson's handle was a joke. Just ridiculous.
Kyrie is that level. Yeah. He's Iverson-esque. I think that's fair. And he makes shots that are just ridiculous. Kyrie's listed at 6'3". I'll take the under. Let's call him 6'2".
I'll take the under on that as well.
The left hand on him is ridiculous.
Unfortunately, he chose to do the long shot in Game 3, instead of driving it to the lane. Both of them, him and LeBron, and didn't work out so well.
All right, we are asked to pick every week by our friends at AutoZone someone who's in the zone. Brought to you by AutoZone. You can drive the new Duralast GT brake pads, proven tough. From the tracks to the streets, sold only at AutoZone. Get in the zone with AutoZone. Who is in the zone? Let's give it to the kid. Mm-hmm. And again, he's no longer a kid.
No, he's not.
Congratulations to Sidney Crosby. Let me read you some numbers, because the narrative on him now is about his place in the history of the game and the overall pantheon of the sport of hockey. Crosby is the first player since Gretzky, exactly 30 years ago, to lead the league in goals and win the Stanley Cup in the same season. Gretzky did it in the 86-87 season. So the last time, he was the last player. Crosby is the first player since then. So think about that, to lead the league in goals scored and win the Cup in the same year. His career regular season points per game rate is 6th all time. But if you only include players who've won at least 3 Stanley Cups, which he now has, the list is now narrowed to Wayne Gretzky, Mike Bossy, and Sidney Crosby.
Yep.
That's it.
He's had a nice 4-year run, too, hasn't he?
Crosby has now won a title in each of the last 4 calendar years. He won the Stanley Cup in 17, won the Stanley Cup in 16, won the World Championship in 15, and won Olympic gold in 14. And, oh, by the way, this summer, he'll turn 30 years old. So this is really a better question for someone like Barry Melrose. I wouldn't pretend to be the right person to answer it. Where does Sidney Crosby, right now, at this minute, at the age of 29, he's just finished his age 29 season.
30 in August.
Rank amongst the greatest players in the history of the game of hockey. I think the answer amongst most of them, most of the people who would really be able to answer that question is he is undoubtedly in the top 10 and maybe climbing higher than that.
Yeah, we'll see. You're right. We need to lean to the Barry Melroses of the world to get deeper into that. And, oh, by the way, he's not done. And, oh, by the way, Pittsburgh is favored to win the Cup again next year.
Yeah, and probably will be right there in the mix as long as he is in his prime. And you hope that the concussion history doesn't wind up shortening the things that he does because, he is a true star in a sport that desperately needs true stars.
They were the better team. They were the best team. No doubt about it. But it was fun to see Nashville get involved, getting into there for the first time in their 19th year and seeing what was going on in Nashville. And Smashville, with the catfish everywhere and just the partying that was going on. It was fun to watch. I was hoping to go back for a Game 7, though. Pekka Rinne, who knows how happy he'd have been about that. He struggled, certainly, in Pittsburgh. What about the symmetry last night? Obviously, as we said, Sidney Crosby is your Conn Smythe winner for the playoffs, and the winning goal last night. By the way, how about that winner? Patrick Hornqvist, off the back wall, bounces to the net, and then he hits it out of the air and goes off the back of Pekka into the net for the game winner. Hornqvist was originally selected by the Predators with the last pick in the 2015 draft, in 2005 draft. You know who was the first pick of that draft? Sidney Crosby.
Oh, yeah.
Sidney Crosby was the first pick of that draft. Hornqvist was the last pick of the Predators in that draft. Now they were teammates in Pittsburgh, and Patrick does it to his former team to get the game winner with 1:35 to go.
I got a good little one for you here. No Googling. By winning the Cup last night, Sidney Crosby is now one of 3 active players in any major sport to be drafted number 1 overall and win at least 3 championships. One of 3 who are currently playing. Let's give people time to think about it. One of them is pretty obvious. I can see on your face one of them is obvious, but don't even say that. No Googling. We'll give you the answer in 5 minutes here on Mike and Mike. I know you'll get the first one. I don't know that you'll get the second one. I definitely wouldn't have, but it's a name everybody knows. So we'll see. Number 1 overall pick in any of the 4 major sports to win at least 3 titles. As of last night, Sidney Crosby is one of 3. Meanwhile, let's get back to the basketball here. Can the Cleveland Cavaliers pull off something of a miracle, which would be to get this thing from 3-0 and dead to a legitimately competitive series by winning tonight? Now, it should be pointed out, the Chicago Bulls in 96, when they had the 72-win team, they were up 3-0 on Seattle in the final that year. Mm-hmm. They wound up losing games 4 and 5. For whatever it's worth, Game 5 was on the road then.
Right.
They were 2-3-2.
Yeah.
So they lost those 2 games in Seattle, came back and won it at home. That was the famous game that they won on Father's Day, and Jordan fell down crying on the ground in the locker room because it was the first title he had won since his father had been killed. So that was then. That was 96. Can the Cavaliers do the same? I don't think they can, and neither does Stephen A. Smith.
Friday is not an indication of what may happen in Game 5. The Cleveland Cavaliers scored 49 points in the first quarter. That was an NBA Finals history record. They scored 86 points in the first half. That is the same. They hit 13 three-pointers in the first half. Are you anticipating that they're going to do that again? That's a rhetorical question because obviously the answer would be no. That's not something we should expect from the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's not to say that they can't win this game. Certainly they elevated their level of physicality. We all recognize that LeBron James and Kyrie Irving were absolutely terrific along with Kevin Love. We can anticipate that those 3 could show up again. J.R. Smith has hit 10 three-pointers over the last 2 games, in Games 3 and 4, so they deserve a lot of credit for that. It just shows you that if Cleveland's clicking on all cylinders, it can win another game and force a Game 6.
Again, they're going to kick themselves for Game 3, having the lead at 3:10 to go. To me, the key quarter is the third quarter. And in the game where they were winning with 3:10 to go, they won that third quarter by 11. The game one, they lost it by 13. In game two, they lost it by 11. Game three, they won it by 11 and were up with 3:10 to go and ended up losing that game. And then in game four, they won the third quarter by a point. They were getting blown out in the first two games in the third quarter. The lead or the deficit they had was extended to double digits in both those games going into the fourth quarter. They changed that around in games 3 and 4, even though they still lost game 3. So that to me is such a big quarter. A quarter of adjustments, a quarter of rest, and how do you come out and play? But man, they were shooting hot. But they were shooting hot in game 3 coming out of that game. It was amazing, what they were doing, playing well to still lose that game. Such a shame for them. As I said, could be 2-2 right now, but to me, it's the third quarter, and then that's what I'm going to really be focusing on tonight.
I just can't imagine Steph shooting the way he shot the other night again. What did he shoot on? 4. He didn't make a basket the whole night Friday.
Yeah, he was 4 for 13.
Yeah,
so 2 for 9. He and Kevin Durant were 4 of 18. They were both 2 of 9 from 3-point land.
Yeah, so that's very tough to picture that happening again. Durant went very cold in the second half. Curry was very cold in the first half. I don't expect either of those things to happen in their own building tonight.
Even with Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson only had 13. He had 30 in that game 3.
If the game is close, which I'm not even sure I expect it to be that, but if the game is close, it's going to sound ridiculously obvious to say, but the key quarter is the fourth quarter, and the reason is, what can LeBron James have left then? Can he get any rest during the game? They've got to find ways to rest him when they go into their regular rotation and give him his regular rest. They can't play at all. They can't keep him on the bench at all. So can they find a way to hold just keep the game even remotely reasonable without him so that he has something to give you at the very end of the game? I'm not saying that's my reasoning on why the fourth quarter is the key. It's obviously ridiculously obvious to suggest the fourth quarter is the most important time of the game.
Right.
But in this case, I think it is particularly so because does LeBron basically have to play the entire night just to keep his team close? And if he does, then is Kyrie the only option you have for a bucket in the fourth quarter? Because you can't just put everything on him. So I expect Golden State to blow them out tonight, to be honest with you. I hate to say it. I hope more than anything in the world I'm wrong. I expect Golden State to blow them out.
Still amazing is they didn't want to take the chance, really, in Game 4 of taking LeBron out. Golden State never led. In that game, it was basically double digits the whole time, but you kept waiting, You kept waiting for Golden State to have 3 possessions of threes and Cleveland shut out on 3 possessions. All of a sudden, it's a 5-point game or something. LeBron still played almost 41 minutes in Game 4. They just didn't want to take the chance.
Yeah, well, they took him out and they took him out the last 3. The beginning of the fourth quarter, he's sitting. The lead, I'm doing this from memory, but the lead was something like 19. They cut it to 11 in a blink of an eye, and LeBron is running.
Right back.
He's sprinting to the score. They almost had to call a timeout to get him back in the game so quickly. It's a joke. They can't play without him at all. And yet, and I tweeted this at that moment, they can't play without him for 1 minute. And yet, if they lost that game, there would be people blaming LeBron James after the fact. And in my opinion, listen, I respect everybody's opinion. But if you think LeBron James is the reason they're losing this series, you have never seen a basketball game in your life.
As I said, a lot of people are going to point to the fact before that game he had 11 points in the fourth quarter when they needed it most. He wasn't coming through. And
coming through? The guy can't even walk at the end of these games. They can't play without him for a minute. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today. Find out if you could save. Speaking of whom... All right, Sidney Crosby again, winning his cup last night, or his third Stanley Cup last night. He is the third active player to win 3 championships, having been chosen number 1 overall in his sport. There are 2 others. You know who one of them is.
LeBron is one.
LeBron is one.
Now, it's not nobody in football.
Correct.
So baseball or hockey. Couldn't think of a baseball player, so I have not looked at the answer. I'm thinking it's another hockey player.
You are correct, and the answer is Patrick Kane.
Oh, okay.
So the 3 active players who were picked number 1 overall in their respective sport and have now won 3 championships are LeBron James, Patrick Kane, and as of last night, Sidney Crosby. It's a pretty good list.
Greeny, you know how to win at business?
Tell me how.
Show up early for meetings. That way everybody who's only on time looks like slackers.
Well, I got a better way to win at business.
What's that?
Instant free nights at La Quinta Inns and Suites. You can show up with no advance reservation and redeem your La Quinta Returns loyalty points for a free night that same night just by using the La Quinta app.
I feel like I'd win at business more than you.
I'd cream you at business.
Impossible. I'm undefeated at business.
Go to LQ.com now and prepare to win at business.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, we are Mike and Mike. First guest of the morning is standing by. Hear him every afternoon here, coast to coast on ESPN Radio with the right time. Here's our friend Bomani Jones. Good morning, Bomani.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
We were well. We were sort of holding out some hope that the NBA Finals don't come to an end tonight, although I don't have a very good feeling about it. I would start the conversation very generally, and then we'll work our way to some more specifics. What is your overall take on where this thing has gone through 4 games?
Well, so think about this for a second, right? If Game 3 had gone like Game 4 did, and Game 4 went like Game 3 did, we would say that Cleveland still has a chance because we'd be like, look, they're down 3-1, and all this, except they went down 3-0. So as well as they played in Game 4, I think all of us feel like that was simply, what's our wonderful cliche, staving off elimination. But in theory, they've got a chance. I think Game 4 was the first game where they legitimately played well. I just don't know if you didn't play well for the first 3, whether you're going to play well the last 3.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I said this before, as a former athlete, they'll kick themselves in the offseason. 3 minutes ago in Game 3, make a few buckets there, and all of a sudden they're thinking it's 2-2 going back to Golden State. That's the fun of this, but they can't worry about that now. They have to go play Game 5. Did your narrative change at all? All we talked about Friday was, is Kevin Durant now the best player in the league? Is this the greatest single-season team of all time now? Oops, well, we have a Game 5 to talk about. So has your narrative changed on the things we've been talking about?
Oh, yeah, I feel like if your thought process was along any of those lines, nothing about that last game should have changed. Now, I never got tricked into this Kevin Durant's the best player in the NBA thing. I thought we learned last year not to play these games as it comes to LeBron. He is a comfortable number 2, but he is not number 1. Now, I have vacillated on whether or not this Warriors team is the greatest team that I've ever seen, and there's certainly an argument, but I'm not going to knock them on it just because they lost 1 game on the road. Like, that wouldn't be the place to take it. So if anybody started with they're the greatest team I've ever seen, and then they dropped off after that 1 loss, you ain't believe they were the greatest team of all time in the first place. You were just playing this game we play.
How would you describe what your level of surprise will be tomorrow morning if this series is not over?
I will be floored. I will be shocked. I will also be thrilled because I am in the business of talking about these games, and we ain't even got hockey left to talk about. I'm not prepared to go to baseball just so quickly. But I will be stunned if they manage to win this. I mean, the Warriors in that building are as close to unbeatable as anybody has been, and this isn't the team that they were last year, and I don't even know if this Cleveland team is the one that they were last year. So, no, if that happened, I would be pleasantly surprised because I got to come to work Tuesday and Wednesday.
And you know what? We're just going to keep talking about these 2 teams and the continued competition between them. So I wonder, and we started seeing it some in the last game, if we continue to see the chippiness. And with these 2 teams with so much on the line, starting to really kind of set their lines as far as personalities and getting on one another, do you see that continuing as well?
I mean, I would guess so, although Dante Jones, probably the chippiest of the chippy because his entire job is to be chippy even if he does not get to play, and he probably won't get to play. That's probably where we wind up losing. The other part, man, I mean, I think for anybody else, man, if you played 4 games against the Warriors and Steph's out here intimating, making a stinky on your home court and everything else, yeah, you'd be ready to fight those dudes. Like, I don't see how you can't be ready to fight the Warriors. They've beaten your brakes off and they're stunting on you the entire way, so it's hard to think that there won't be some measure of chippiness. But, I mean, if they get down by 15, 20 points, I feel like the good players on the Cavs aren't the ones who get chippy. It's just what happens when you empty the bench and the dudes who ain't got nothing to lose.
Mike and Bomani Jones, something I haven't gotten to yet today, but I'd like to, is Draymond Green's mother. And my general rule here, and Mike, and you and I have talked about this many times, I'm willing to give almost all the slack in the world to family members when it comes to stuff. You're going to defend your husband or wife. Well,
remember
or
last year it was
Aisha Curry,
yeah.
right? So, but the line gets drawn for me when you start talking about things that are genuinely damaging to the league. So there are 3 tweets that I have here. There may have been more, but there are 3 tweets here that I have from Mary Babers-Green. That's Draymond's mom. Right. And she is very outspoken on Twitter. I was reading a story. Draymond at one point wanted to take her social media away.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's tweeting. So at one point during the insanity that was the officiating of Friday night, she tweeted, "The refs have lost total control." I'm good with that.
That's fine.
I think everyone
Nothing
thought
wrong
that.
with that.
She tweeted, "The ref takeover." I think we're all good with that.
No problem with that.
The other thing she tweeted was, "These officials have been officially paid." And that's where you get into the same stuff that we got into last year with Aisha, which is at some point, I think
you cross a line.
Yeah, you have to recognize this is the league's biggest flaw, their biggest fear, their biggest concern is the whole world thinks that they're fixed. Or not the whole world, but so many people think it's fixed that for people who are as on the inside as Aisha Curry, who's married to a player, or as Mary Babers-Green, who is the mother of a player, are, to me, that's where you have to really be careful. Bomani, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it that the NBA has this larger dilemma, which is people think the games are fixed, right? And like you talked about that with the hockey game, and you're absolutely right. If that happened in the NBA, everybody would be coming out here talking about it was a conspiracy to make sure that the best player in the league won this. And the NBA has to be like, guys, could you please talk to your significant others and parents and tell them not to say that our league is fixed? But the league has no authority over those people, so they get to act like fans. And the problem is NBA fans are quick to come with oh man, the game is rigged. We just go there as a reflex in this way. So no, I agree with you that I think it is problematic and it's a really, really bad look. I just don't have any idea what anybody can do to fix it, because I got a sneaky suspicion that if Draymond Green had the authority to tell his mama to stop saying stuff like that, he'd have done that a long time ago. The fact that she says stuff like that tells me he doesn't have that kind of authority to tell her to stop, and I'm pretty sure I don't either.
All he has and all any of us have when it comes to our mom is a bloody lip from biting our lip and not being able to stop them from doing anything. So we just have to kind of hope we don't have to cringe too much. Bomani, our Darren Ravel said that a couple of floor tickets for tonight's game, 2 tickets, floor seats, tonight's game, $90,000. Is there any sporting event out there or any entertainer out there or anything that you would pay $90,000 to go see?
Unless you're telling me that Prince is doing a concert tomorrow, Marvin Gaye is opening for him, and Jimi Hendrix might come out for the encore, I don't have $90,000 for you. I just like the idea that you could just be like, oh, those tickets are $90,000. Hold on right fast. Let me go get my card. If I try to put $90,000 on my card, you know how that goes. They call you. They're like, hey, man, you try to put $90,000 on your card? This seems like some shenanigans. I personally cannot imagine who it is. If you can do that and not give it a second thought, bless your heart. You probably had to do something dastardly to get the money, but the money's yours.
I wonder if the majority of people who could afford to spend $90,000 on tickets to something would sooner do it to see a sporting event, a championship event, or as Bo said, like a concert of some kind.
Yeah.
If we go back in time, Bomani, like to me, if you could go back in time and see Bob Marley in his heyday and whatever would be considered like the quintessential Bob Marley event concert or something like that, to go back in time and I don't even know, go to Woodstock.
The only problem is you go to Woodstock or Bob Marley and pay that kind of money, you're not remembering the concert. You'll have no recollection the next day of where you were.
Bo.
Well, yeah, maybe if you're an amateur, right? Yeah. Like, there's certainly a time machine element. Like, if you got a time machine concert for me to go to, so if you can get me to Bob Marley, Pittsburgh, 1980, you can get me to the Roxy in 76, yes, I am going to be there. But you're right, for $90,000, I better get backstage. I don't know who's backstage. I don't know what's backstage. But I better be there for the $90,000. Like, I need all access.
Well, that's it right there. The pass you have has to say all access for $90,000.
Yeah, the people who are sitting, by the way, $90,000 tonight. When if the Warriors are in there drinking champagne tonight, those two people are not going with them.
No.
Right? They're not going to be back there drinking champagne.
They should get seats in there and drink the champagne.
If they paid the Warriors $90,000 for them, they would get it. They just paid StubHub or someone $90,000.
I feel like, though, if you got $90,000 to give to the ticket, you better know somebody at the arena that can get you backstage, right? Like, I feel like with the $90,000 per ticket, that should come with the clout where somebody's like, yo, it's the $90,000 dude. Hey, get him on back here. Get him back here.
One other thing, Bomani, Olympics are adding 3-on-3 basketball. If you could take, this is the easiest question in the world for radio. If you could take, who would be your three guys from the NBA right now if they were to do NBA players played this?
See, here's the thing, man. I guess we take NBA players. I guess you wind up with like LeBron, Kevin Durant, and insert third player here because you don't really need a point guard. I don't want NBA players in my 3-on-3 competition. I want 3 dudes who were supposed to go to the NBA but somehow got derailed and now work at UPS because those are dudes that's going to come out here and play hard because this is their one opportunity because I want to see some real fouls. And, in fact, I want them to call their own fouls. We don't need no international officials out here with the technicalities of the rule. Call your own fouls. All the dudes from all over the world. I want the most hard scrabble cats that you can find. Dudes who have never played basketball on wood in their lives. Only know about playing on concrete. We ain't taking no charges. No. We don't want any of that. I want call your own foul, and if you can't adjudicate the matter, shoot for it at the top. That's what we need.
That would be some of the greatest bloodletting out there. That's
guys
for sure.
Who've never played on wood in their whole life.
That is awesome.
Very good. Bomani, enjoy the game tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Bo.
All right, fellas, y'all be good.
It is a fun question, Bomani, this afternoon and every afternoon, the right time. It's a fun question, and we'll get into it here. And I have a brilliant idea. I have one of my brilliant ideas.
Oh, God.
I have brilliant ideas.
Listen, we've been doing this show a long time.
Yeah.
Your batting average is real low on brilliant ideas.
Not true. Like most geniuses, I will not be fully appreciated until after my time. But I've got a great idea for the Olympic 3-on-3 basketball.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Hardship. My grandmother would go through it every month to pay her insurance bill. First, she would handwrite a paper check, in cursive. Then, using her own tongue, she would wet a stamp for an envelope. Today, however, we need not weary our hands and tongues. Today, we can pay our Geico bill with the Geico app. Away with hardship, in with bill pay on the Geico app. Thank you.
Nick Colvalope, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said, I had a dream I was eating a pizza. I woke up and I had chewed through my pillow and was eating the stuffing.
It's a pretty bland pizza.
And not only that, but I don't believe that.
I don't either.
That's the kind of thing you can just tweet, and it sounds interesting.
I don't believe you ate through your pillow and were into the stuffing your pillow. I don't believe that.
Mike Witt tweets, I had a dream that Golick and Greeny were competitors on the show The Amazing Race. They came in second to Schlereth and Wingo. I believe in a race we would beat Schlereth and Wingo.
Oh, I absolutely believe that. Dude's had 20 surgeries on his knees.
Yeah.
Schlereth.
I think Wingo and I are like
what has Wingo ever done in his life to have 20 surgeries on his knees?
No, right. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Wingo and I think in a running race, are a wash. I don't know that there's any reason. I think I'd be faster than him, but I don't know that.
Right.
I've seen Trey in the gym here many times, and what he generally does, what I've seen is, he puts the elliptical on like an extraordinarily high level.
He gets going. Yes, he does.
He's like climbing a mountain.
He is. He gets after it. And I know you and your elliptical, you're on for 33 minutes.
And I do it fast.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm faster than him.
You guys should have an elliptical race.
Wouldn't that be thrilling? People are paying $90,000 not to watch that.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Actually, a true story had happened to me. I tweeted it. I was having dinner one night after the show that I was doing out in L.A., and a guy says to me, just walks over in the restaurant, hey, like the show, thank you. And he says to me, let me ask you, Greeny, who wins in a fight between you and Stu Gatz? This is what he said to me.
Well, I mean, we've thrown that out there before.
Yeah, I said the winner in that fight is anyone who's not forced to watch it.
You're not kidding, yeah.
I mean, that would be the worst fight of all time.
That would be a very low pay-per-view number.
But in a running race, I think you've got Schlereth. And Schlereth's an unbelievable athlete.
He is, but I mean, and very strong. I could never beat him lifting in my life. He's very strong. I wasn't a great lifter, but he's had so many knee surgeries, and I've only had a couple.
All right, I have a brilliant idea.
You do?
Are you ready for my brilliant idea?
No, but
so they're going to put
3-on-3
basketball into the Olympics.
Which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Now, 3-on-3 basketball should be played outside. I understand that. That's a game that feels as though it was meant to be played at Rucker Park or at West 4th Street or whatever the equivalent of that is in every city in America.
As Bomani would say, not on wood.
Not on wood.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If Olympic basketball was played in the winter, if you put basketball in the Winter Olympics, you couldn't have the NBA players, right? Because it's during their season. They're not going to stop the NBA season for 2 weeks.
Does.
Like hockey has done.
Said they're not going to do it.
Said they're not going to do. They're not going to do that. So basketball goes in the summer.
Right.
But basketball is really not a summer sport. Basketball is a winter sport. We traditionally played it in the winter, and it's played indoors. I'm assuming the 3-on-3 basketball is not going to feature any active NBA players. Now, maybe I'm wrong. If they do play in the summer, maybe they will.
I don't know if it does or not, but I am absolutely. It's the first thing I said. I said it anyway. Bomani said it as well. I would not have NBA players.
You would not have them in the 3-on-3.
I don't want pros in the Olympics anyway, but that horse is out of the barn. But for this, because I know where you're going, it would work to not have NBA players. It would be the only way to not have.
I believe they should put the 3-on-3 basketball in the Winter Olympics. They're dying to find stuff to put in the Winter Olympics. If you look at the number of events that exist in the summer versus the winter, Hembo, you could look it up for me. It's like 3-1.
Yeah.
The ratings are overwhelmingly greater in the summer because, for lack of a better word, all the good sports are in the summer.
Yeah, you know, you have the freaks like me who are going to watch any Olympic sport any time of the year, but they want that casual person. That's what gives you the big ratings. And you're right, the summer does way better than the winter.
You like the Winter Olympics.
I do.
But you like the summer better. I mean, you just do there's more events and they're better.
I'll watch them all. My point is, a guy like me, I'll watch them all. But
only because they're there.
Yes, ratings-wise, you know,
why is swimming in the Summer Olympics? Like, if you want to make some sort of equal distribution between these two.
I agree with that because swimming season, certainly in college anyway, you know, is through the winter.
And it ends in March. They're swimming inside. You're not swimming in a pool outside,
right.
You know, the Nussbaum's house. You're swimming
there are some
or anyone's house.
Outside. But to your point.
But not in the Olympics.
No,
I've never seen them swim outside the Olympics.
Right.
Why are you nodding your head at me, Travis? They swim outside in the Olympics? In Australia, they swam outside.
All right, but for the most part, it's inside.
Okay,
you could to your point,
it's
you can
inside.
Make it inside. Yes.
So put the swimming. So if you want to try and make the Winter Olympics better, so here's a great event. Now this is just me talking. I think 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics is going to be awesome, absolutely awesome. Put it in the Winter Olympics. Why would you put it in the same Olympiad where the actual basketball, whatever you want to call it, the 5-on-5 basketball is going on? Put the 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Granted, you'll have to play it on wood because you're not going to play it outside. But put it in an arena someplace and play 3-on-3 basketball in the Winter Olympics. I think it would be terrific.
I do as well because and that's one of the reasons too. I don't want NBA players so it could work. Swimming could not work in the Winter Olympics.
Why?
Because you're during the NCAA season. You have college. You have swimmers in there that are swimming NCAA. NCAA is something now getting a little deep. NCAA swimming is short course. It's a 25-yard pool. Olympics is long course, a 50-meter pool. Different training. So right in the middle of your short course season, you would be going to the Olympics and swimming long course events. A little more difficult to do. So I could see why you don't want to do that.
Michael Phelps has been out of the NCAA for 15 years. You're just saying we'd be eliminating the college
There's a lot of swimmers in the. I know you're looking at the Katie Ledeckis of the world, who, by the way,
is
now swimming in college. She took a year off of college because it was Olympic year. A lot of it is the timing of that. So that I can understand not doing. This, without question, no NBA players. Put it in the Winter Olympics.
There are 306 medal events in the Summer Olympics, 98 in the winter. There's 3 times as many events in the summer. We need to start taking some of the Summer Olympic events
up the winter.
And put them in the winter.
There you go. I agree.
Anything that's done indoors.
Spruce it up.
You could put the curling in the summer if you want to.